What is the truth? The truth is not what you think it is. So many religious texts, so many traditions have spoken about the truth of who you are. Who are you? Now, if you take that from the conditioned mind, which is not you, by the way, it's a very quick answer, but it's a mental answer. It has no depth. It's very superficial. Who are you? Well, the standard answer, especially in Western society, is I am this name. Name is just a sound. It doesn't mean anything. I am this age. I am this nationality. These are all concepts. They're not really real. And the reason you know, and the way you can tell that it's not real, is because everybody has a different interpretation of concepts. Nobody thinks about the same concept the way you do. It might seem like it, but everybody has a slight different variation or a total variation. There is no exact concept that is universal and fully, completely, 100% understood from that perspective, because there's so many nuances of thinking based on our mood, based on our emotions. Our thoughts are not consistent. Our thoughts are not consistent. The same thought you might have had 5 days ago or yesterday, the intensity of that thought might not be the same. So, for example, a long time ago, I learned if I'm upset at somebody or something, go to sleep first, wake up in the morning, and you will feel a little bit differently. Instead of reacting, don't be reactionary. And that is such a wise thing that I learned. Why? Well, that points to that observer effect. Don't be so quick to react. Don't be so quick to believe the stories, and don't be so quick to believe in the narrator in your mind, because that is really not you. So many traditions, so many sages have recognized that. In fact, one of the oldest texts is the Upanishads. The Upanishads, which is one of the oldest texts, have recognized, and I want to give you a quotation from the Upanishads. They describe the Atman. What is the Atman? The Atman is the silent, eternal self that watches without interference. That's you. This was discovered thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago. This is the basis of all Hinduism. But it's not only limited to Hinduism. Every single great mind, every single great tradition has recognized this. Let me look at Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoics, Stoicism. Marcus Aurelius said the same thing. He said, observe the mind as if it's standing outside of oneself, noting thoughts without attachment. Buddha, in Buddhism, he speaks of the unconditioned awareness that perceives thoughts and sensations but does not identify with them. This is what this channel has been talking about the whole time. Zen Buddhism encourages shikantaza, which is just sitting, pure witnessing without grasping of thoughts. Let me see if you start to see a pattern here. I'm going to continue, okay? Taoism, Lao Tzu speaks of Wu Wei. Wu Wei is effortless witnessing and flowing with the Tao. Go with the flow. Witness effortlessly, because you, and you will hopefully find this out if you haven't already, you are just pure present awareness, like everything. That's all there exists, actually. Let's continue. Beautiful human being, Ramana Maharshi, a very, very beautiful being, a very wise Indian sage who had a very deep awakening and has one of the main people that has influenced me, says, he teaches self-inquiry. He teaches, who am I? Which is a very quick way, at least that's what worked for me, and I will do more videos on that, to realize this ever-present witness, because the witness is always present. It never goes. It's the same witness when you were 5 years old, when you were 10 years old. It's the same thing. This is the only thing that doesn't change. There's another clue for you. Just try to find that which has never changed in your life. There's only one aspect which hasn't changed, which is the reality, which is this ever-present moment. Time is an illusion. You will hopefully find out as well. Not mentally to try to figure it out logically that time is illusion. You need to experience that time is illusion. That's the point of this channel. Let's talk about Krishnamurti, another beautiful sage, Jiddu Krishnamurti. He says, emphasize choiceless awareness. Choiceless awareness, meaning where one simply observes without labeling and don't react. Let's continue. I've always had a tough time saying this band's name, G.I. Gurdjieff. He discusses the need for self-remembering, meaning where one simply is aware of oneself as the observer of thoughts and actions. Sufism, another mystic branch, beautiful branch, says it speaks of the watcher within, pure awareness that observes the dance of existence. Kabbalah in Jewish mysticism, same thing, describes the neshama, which is the higher soul that observes the lower conditioned self. Are you starting to get the picture here? They all talk about this. Christian mysticism, Meister Eckhart, beautiful being as well. Meister Eckhart, what an awakened being. The cloud of unknowing. He refers to divine spark within, which, by the way, passively watches all phenomena. That divine spark which passively watches all phenomena. Start to understand what's happening. Advaita Vedanta, Shankara, for example, says, identify the witness as Brahman. Brahman is the ultimate reality beyond duality. The problem here, and this is not a problem, it's just a nature of this existence, is that the inception of language has created an automatic duality, especially Western languages create duality. I, you, subject, object. There is actually, in reality, there is no subject and object. There is no subject. Everything is the subject. But language creates that object through mental concepts. Understand that. Let's continue. Nisargadatta Maharaj, another great master Indian sage, beautiful human being, says, you are not the body or mind, but the awareness behind it all. You are not the body and mind, but the awareness behind it all. Osho, you might have heard about Osho. Very radical figure, controversial, but truly an awakened being. He says, watch without judgment. Become the silent witness of thoughts. They're all saying the same thing. And these are not written these are written thousands of years before and after. Great, great awakened beings. Let's look at something that's more tangible for some of you who have a more scientific mind, who are of the materialist, let's say, vantage point, where you have Werner Heisenberg, who said in quantum physics, he introduced the uncertainty principle. What is that? Implying that observation alters reality. This is something that, again, you have to understand, not intellectually. You have to transcend the intellect. But the first understanding, and I'll tell you in my case, the first understanding was intellectual. This is why I speak in this way, because I had to demystify what spiritual awakening is, and I had to realize that I was absolutely not what I thought what I was. Why did I do that? Because there was a lot of suffering in this life. Because I was misperceiving who I was. That's really what it is. Suffering comes from misperception, from misunderstanding, misplacing one's identity, and believing oneself to be what one is not. Through story mode. We refer to ourselves through stories. When I was this years old, I went here and I went there. And notice these stories are always changing, and the narration of the stories change as well. Notice it's always very superfluous. It's very cloudy. It's very murky. It's not really that clear. Let's continue. John Wheeler, another great quantum physicist, said he proposed the participatory in a universe where consciousness actually helps to shape reality, because you are pure consciousness. You are shaping your reality as pure consciousness. Eugene Wigner suggested that consciousness collapses the quantum wave function, making reality take form. Erwin Schrödinger said, he basically explored the paradox of observation in quantum mechanics, also known as Schrödinger's cat. Niels Bohr, famous Danish physicist, argued that reality is shaped by the act of measurement and cannot be fully separated from the observer. The observer is reality. You are observing and creating your reality. David Bohm introduced the implicate order, where consciousness and matter are deeply intertwined. Now, we went through a whole gamut of enlightened beings, from Nisargadatta Maharaj to Ramana Maharshi to Osho to quantum physicists such as Niels Bohr. They've all recognized the same thing, but from different traditions. Why? Because there's only one truth, my friends. This is what I've been talking about in this channel the whole time. That truth is universal. What is that truth? You are not your mind, you are not your body, you are not your thoughts. You are observing all of that the whole time. It's the only thing that stays the same. Everything else changes. How can you know if you were also the thoughts? You would not have a baseline. You wouldn't have a perspective of which you can observe all of those changes. So your baseline, your primordial existence, and really everything that exists is just pure awareness. We were never taught that. We were taught to just go into a very superficial, when we're born and we're learning our conditionings, we're taught a very, very limited and superficial reality based just on thinking. Everything else is negated. It's kind of pushed away because it's all about doing, especially Western societies. Do. The more you're doing, the more you're involved in your thoughts, the less you're present, the less you're here, the less you recognize your inner divinity. What all of these people are talking about, what all of these traditions are talking about. So be still and know that you are. Be still and know that I am. The I am. What is that? Well, right now, do you exist? Are you aware? It's very simple. It's nothing you need to think about. It is something you intuitively know. Do you exist? Are you aware right now? Don't think about it. Are you aware right now? It's either yes or no. Hopefully it's yes. You don't need to think about that. And awareness is the primordial existence. That's it. Everything else comes on top of it. Everything else is fleeting. Nothing else. All these mental concepts you have, all this history and story, it's just fleeting. It's coming and going and coming and going and coming and going. And that's what all these people recognized. So, in a way, and I purely just speak from my own experience. That's all, because that's the most authentic that there is. The most authentic I can be is just to tell you everything that came from my own experience. This is the own truth that I found within myself, which you have in yourself as well. We are all awareness. This is just one big field of awareness. There's no separation between awareness of one quote unquote perceived individual and another. This is just a pure awareness, and you are the observer. The entire cosmos has been observed. The entire evolution of humanity has been observed, and that observation has been full and constant outside of time. It's timeless, it's eternal, it has no boundary, and it's what you are. You are that. You are that. You are not your thoughts. Be present and know that I am. Be here, be still, and know that you are. You are pure, present, conscious awareness. That's it. Everything else comes and goes. Everything else comes and goes. And once you really realize that, the entire mental construct, in one of the videos I talked about a building which is akin to the ego, meaning your personal identity of what you have created. And it takes a lot of effort to keep that identity going, right? It's exhausting. It's so exhausting, right? To keep going, to keep building and take more courses and learn more about the me, and I have to do this and this is, and sometimes So I was so thirsty. I had this insatiable desire to find out who I was. Why? Because I couldn't handle who I thought I was. I couldn't live with my thoughts anymore. I didn't like what my thoughts were saying. I didn't like what my thoughts said about who I was. It was uncomfortable. It created a lot of suffering, a lot of pain. And this is a universal thing. Throughout history, human beings have talked about this. That's why I love people like Marcus Aurelius, like Ramana Maharshi, like Osho. All these people have spoken very clearly about who we are, and they have helped liberate us. These are divine beings, and I'm extremely grateful for them. So we have a responsibility. Those of us who have realized this have a responsibility to talk about that in a way. Now, it will resonate with you or it will not. If it doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. Maybe it's not the time for you. If your material life, I'm not talking about material goods, I'm just talking about the idea you have of who yourself, the idea you have of who you are is if the idea is doing very well, if the thoughts are going great, then you don't have a need to really look into this. But unfortunately, eventually it does come a point to some people that idea collapses because it's a mental construct. How real is a mental construct? So you assume yourself to be a mental construct. That's what I assume myself to be, and it collapsed completely. Some people may call that a midlife crisis, an identity crisis, an ego dissolution. It's painful because that's who you took yourself to be. It's very painful. At least in my case, it was horribly painful. But it was the greatest blessing that ever happened to me because it set me free. And I want you to see that. So, if you want help, email me. And I really hope this is helping. Have a beautiful and blessed day. And just observe with detachment. Remember that for today. Observe with detachment. Observe with detachment. Observe with detachment. Bless you.